Welcome back to AP World History. We're going to continue our look at the Age of Revolution by looking at the French and the Haitian revolutions. The French Revolution goes from 1789 to 1815, and the Haitian Revolution goes from 1791 to 1804. And the reason why we're lumping these two together is because the Haitians were a colony of France, and they rebelled during the French Revolution, as you can see, because of the ideals in the French Revolution. We'll talk about that a little bit more here as we go through the presentation here. So, getting started here, though, we want to take a look at the map in 1800, so right about the start of these revolutions. This is what the world looks like. Okay, there's only one minor change from what we saw previously in the American Revolution map, and that is the idea that America, or the United States, is its own country now. And you can see that with the territory they have. And so they have that pink territory. France has a little bit beyond that. They've regained their Louisiana Purchase from Spain, bought it back from them. And then the French Empire is kind of still down, though. They didn't gain anything back from Canada or anything like that. So smaller than it was, and they'll want to hold on to what they have, which is why they're not going to want to let go of Haiti, and they'll have to rebel. But we'll start with the French Revolution since it begins first. So why does the French Revolution begin? Well, the biggest reason for it is that France is in a lot of debt. They have over 150 million livre deficit, which is not good when you're running a country. And when your creditors start to come to you and saying, hey, you need to pay off your loans that you have, you got to find some money fast. And so he's got to try to cut back on some spending, but that's really tough for a king to do, and especially when your wife is Marie Antoinette and really likes nice haircuts and really expensive gowns and bulbs and everything else. That's not really going to happen. And then you spent a lot of money on the American Revolution helping the Americans out, but the Americans aren't going to really pay you a ton for that. And so the only thing you can really try to do is open up some new taxes. However, you're already heavily taxing the poor, and we're going to jump into here with the Estates General and see that the other people don't want to be taxed, who really have a lot of the money. And so we'll get to that here in a second. So the second part here is that the economy just in France is poor. They've had some really bad harvests, bad weather, droughts, and then horrid weather for growing crops, and so the people do not have enough food to survive on, and the cost of food is skyrocketing, making it very tough for families to make ends meet. And so adding a tax on top of this really drives the common people crazy. And then on top of this, the monarch, or the king, who is Louis XVI, is a pretty weak king. He is not like his predecessor, Louis XIV, who pretty much did what he wanted and told people what was going to happen. And so what he does, instead of just saying, I'm going to levy taxes on everyone, he forms something called the Estates General, which hadn't been formed for several years, and several years meaning hundreds of years, and calls that to bring the clergy, the nobility, and then the rest of the population together to come up with some tax plan to fix the expenses. Well, the clergy and nobility number about 500,000 at the most, while the rest of the population is about 27 million in that last class. And they all have an equal amount of votes, and so that means the clergy and nobility can overrule the common people, and that's what they do. And so they levy all the taxes against the common people, and this will lead to the rebellion, where the commoners will break away. They actually get locked out of the Estates General because they're disagreeing with the nobility and clergy so much, and instead they go to the tennis court in the palace and sign an oath there saying that they're going to create a new government that works for the people. And so this kicks off the French Revolution. However, this is a different revolution that we see in America. And so the big thing here is the American Revolution was violent in that it was a war against the Americans and the British, but it wasn't a huge amount of killing innocent civilians and common people in general. However, the French Revolution is not like that. The French Revolution has lots of violence against the people as much as it does against the king and his supporters in power. And so, what will happen here is on July 14th, and that should say 1789, not 1989. That'd be a little bit late for this revolution period. But the common people stormed the Bastille. The Bastille was this castle-like building in the middle of Paris that housed political prisoners, and they tear it down. And they kill the guards and put them up on pikes, as you can see with the picture in the left-hand corner there. And then this will lead to people marching on Versailles and putting the king and queen under house arrest in Paris instead of in Versailles, which is just outside of Paris. And it'll lead to the common people taking over with their government. And it will lead to something that's known as the Reign of Terror, which is led by a guy named Maximilien Robespierre. And this is an idea, or the idea behind this is to get everyone on the same page, and anyone that is not thinking in the revolutionary style that these revolutionaries want people to follow in gets taken care of and is eliminated so that they don't cause any problems. And this will eventually lead to Louis XVI and his wife Marie Antoinette, the Queen, getting executed because they tried to escape France, go to Austria, where Marie Antoinette's from, and get help to take back the power in their kingdom. And the people don't really like this, and so he gets executed, gets his head chopped off by the guillotine. And again, Marie Antoinette has the same thing. This reign of terror will continue until roughly somewhere between 15 and 50,000 people die, and it'll end when Robespierre is finally killed on the guillotine. He is the last person to go after his regime is overthrown. And so France is looking a little crazy, looking really unstable, and the European nations, such as Britain and Austria and many other ones with monarchs, want to reinstate a monarchy in France to bring about control again because it's looking very anarchic, and they don't want this anarchy to spread to their countries. Well, this leads to wars between France and all the other European nations, and it will lead to a guy rising the ranks in the army named Napoleon. And he will eventually bring stability to it, not in a way that the European monarchs wanted to, but he'll bring it in becoming and naming himself emperor, even though the rest of the Europeans don't really want that to happen. But the big things that come from this, on top of Napoleon ending the conflict, at least the revolution part, and then causing some more problems later on with the wars that he leads. But the big thing is it leads to this idea of the Declaration of Rights of Man, which is based off of the Bill of Rights that we have in the United States. And it says things like all men are equal. However, women are not involved in this. It's just men. Women will make a counter document saying that the Declaration of Rights of Women to say that they are equal. But it lays out rights that you have, like freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and things like that. Unfortunately, although Napoleon will follow some of these, he doesn't follow all of it when he sets up his new government, and during the Reign of Terror, these were completely ignored. Another major thing here is that France becomes the first European country that becomes truly democratic, with no monarch. But again, this shortly changes as time goes on, and Napoleon will become emperor himself. And this will also lead to the Haitian Revolution, really because of that Declaration of Rights of Man saying everyone's equal and there should be no such thing as slavery. And so, jumping to the Haitian Revolution now. We have a island in the Caribbean, that's what Haiti is. It's part of one half or less than half of the island of what is also the Dominican Republic. And it is a very, very wealthy sugar colony at the time. It is the most wealthy colony in the Caribbean. However, if you think about today and what's going on in Haiti, it's not that way anymore, and we're going to see why that happens here through this. So, in Haiti, because it's a sugar plantation colony, um, a lot of people are slaves, about 10 to 1 from slaves to free white people. And that's a huge difference, and that leads to very strict controls there, which really upsets the slave population. And when they start to hear about these ideas that everyone's equal, that everyone is free, there is no such thing as slavery anymore, they presume that they are going to be allowed or given their freedom. However, the French people in France really didn't anticipate or want that to happen because they still want sugar to be grown how it is and continue with that process there. So Napoleon revokes the idea that people can't be slaves in the colonies, and this will lead to the revolution beginning in late 1700s. So the Haitians will be organized under a major figure known as Toussaint L'Ouverture, and he's the main leader. However, by the end of the revolution, he will have been captured by the French and executed. But his successors will bring the revolution to an end and successfully revolt, or will have succeeded in their revolt against France. And this will be the first and only successful slave revolt in this time period, or really pretty much in history period. And this will become an inspiration for all slaves and lead to some minor slave revolts in places like the southern colonies in the United States and other Caribbean islands. But it really doesn't do much beyond that, unfortunately. And this actually ends up hurting the country more than it helped it in some ways. Yes, they gained their freedom. Yes, that's a great thing. People have more rights. However, the economy of the country, the newly formed country, falls apart. The plantations are abolished and slaves are given small sections of land, and so they can no longer do the labor-intensive process of growing sugar, which was very profitable. Instead, they go to small-scale farming, which doesn't make as much money. Along with that, they are forced to pay reparations to France to pay for them getting their independence, and they have corrupt leadership that doesn't really follow the idea that everyone's equal and should be treated well and that people have rights. Instead, they act more like a dictator and are corrupt. And so those are some of the problems that Haiti faces. But also outside of Haiti, this leads to a new thing as well. Napoleon, who is the emperor at the time of this, decides that, you know what, this is maybe not the best idea to have colonies in the Americas anymore because, well, it's really hard to try to control them. They're far away, and the people just don't like us to begin with. So let's sell our land in the Louisiana Territory, and we'll sell it to the Americans. And from that, I can get some more money and build up a better and stronger army and navy and take on the British and everyone else and try to invade Russia in the middle of winter. And he does this, and the Americans buy it. Thomas Jefferson buys that land, and we gain the Louisiana Purchase. So we gain the territory all the way from west of the Mississippi to the Rocky Mountains or so, except for the territory that the Spanish control, or what the Spanish used to control and is now a Mexican empire. We get all those lands. And so it really helps the United States, but that doesn't really help Haiti that much. And actually the U.S. doesn't support Haiti because they were slaves revolting and we still had slavery going on here. So it causes some problems, and this is why Haiti is not a huge blossoming country today like some of the other, or not as successful, I should say, as some of the other Caribbean countries because of what they've had to go through.